Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. 1,000 employees gone from the VA, but now they're looking to bring some back. Interesting turn of events here. Now, from what we've found so far is that some of the verbiage that was used in the email communications to those 1,000 probationary period employees was they were being let go due to performance issues. Maybe that's not the case. We had one VA employee who was let go on the channel, and he said that he had stellar reviews during his probationary period and was still let go. So, with that being said, maybe that is the turn of events here. Before we jump into it, I want to throw out a special thank you to Wireless Sunday 9897. Wireless Sunday 9897. Thank you so much for your super chat, super comment thing. I really do truly appreciate your support so very much. Thank you. All right, so the headline here on Federal News Network is VA reinstates some fired employees, but 36 senators push for rehiring all 1,000 back. Now, I don't know. Look, it starts to get a little bit political, obviously, and there is that aspect of this. But let's back up for a minute. When we look at the VA a year ago, actually just less than a year ago, the VA was saying that they needed to eliminate 10,000 employees. Then they kind of changed their tune, maybe, I don't know, 5 months ago or so. So whatever, 11 months ago, they said we need to get rid of 11,000. Then maybe around 5 months ago or so, they said, well, maybe we need to hire some. They also said they didn't need anything for their budget. Then they said they were short for their budget. Then they were over on their budget. So, I mean, I'm taking everything with a grain at this point. The question that I have for everybody is, do we think that the VA is right-sized employee count? Okay. Do we think that it has the right number of employees, and not just the right number, but the right number in the right places? That's a hard question, because none of it, I mean, there might be some people out there that work there and can give some sort of context to that. And I'd love to see those comments. But to just strictly say, you know, these 36 senators that say push for rehiring all 1,000 back. Well, what if, I don't know, 10 of those 1,000 had horrible, Stan's my rooster. He chimes in. For those that don't know, Stan is that's what Stan does. So, all right, back to this. So if there's 10 employees of that 1,000 that were just complete not good at all, bad attitudes, rubbing off on others, creating a bad work environment, issues, do you really think that all 1,000 should be called back? I'm just saying. I mean, I hate blanket statements is the thing. And this is kind of a blanket statement. All 1,000 should be hired back. Boom. I guarantee you that the 36 senators have not read each one of those 1,000 employee personnel files. So how can they say that they should be hired back? I'm just saying. All right, so let's jump into this. And I'm going to throw out there for the record that I don't necessarily agree with the approach and the methodology used for eliminating the 1,000 positions. I think that's a horrible metric to use. They're on probationary period. It's an easy way to eliminate with less turmoil and hurdles. I think that it should absolutely, instead of that, be a true performance-based decision, and that's not always the easiest case. Thanks, Stan. All right, so moving back into this, we're going to jump into it. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. Every thumbs up, every minute watched does help the channel. And if you want to support in other ways, consider being a member. Thank you so much to all you members. I truly appreciate your support. I do my best to get back to you in the comments. All right, the Department of Veterans Affairs is in the process of reinstating some of the probationary employees it fired last week. But Senate VA Committee ranking member Richard Blumenthal and 35 other Senate Democrats are calling on the VA to go one step further and rehire all 1,000 of its recently terminated probationary employees, which most likely won't happen. The VA has officially exempted many of its frontline employees from the government-wide hiring freeze. So again, the VA has officially exempted many of its frontline employees from government-wide hiring freeze. The Office of Personnel Management deferred resignation offer, and more recently, a widespread firing of probationary hires across the federal government. So the VA has pushed back on a lot of that. Granted, there was the 1,000 probationary employees that were let go. That represents less than 0.25% of the entire VA workforce. Right or wrong, it is what it is. It's less than 0.25% of the entire workforce. So what does that mean? Does that mean that you're going to see big consequences with regard to VA benefits and so forth? Most likely not. When you're talking about 0.25% of the VA total employee headcount. Again, do I think it's right the way they did it? No. All right. Anyway, moving on. But in practice, lawmakers told VA Secretary Doug Collins in a letter that these policies are impacting VA healthcare and benefits. I don't know. Among the impacts, lawmakers say the opening of new clinics, including one in Fredericksburg, Virginia, has been delayed because the VA cannot hire the necessary staff, and that service lines at VA hospitals and clinics have been halted. Now, I will throw out one other thing. The VA has had hiring problems in all kinds of different aspects for many years, especially when it comes to healthcare workers, whether it's a doctor, a nurse, what have you, specialty stuff. So that has always been an issue, and there has been issues getting clinics opened because of that. They just couldn't hire the folks. So that has been an issue by itself, standalone as well. Moving on. Let's see where we're at. Among the impacts, lawmakers say the opening of the new clinics, including the one in Fredericksburg, right, has been halted. So not only will this latest action put veterans' care and benefits at risk, but it further confuses, demoralizes, and threatens a VA workforce we need to fulfill our nation's sacred promise to our veterans and their families who have already sacrificed so much, the lawmakers wrote. Now, remember that this is I don't know how to put it, a politically charged environment that we're in. And so anything that one side does, the other side will capitalize and exploit, regardless of which side it is, right? I am just trying to be down the middle and read this, but I also want to shine that light that this is going to happen on both sides, probably for the next 4 years. So let's see. So Senator Tammy Duckworth, a service-disabled veteran, told reporters in a call Wednesday that her office has been in touch with the fired VA employees who worked for the Veterans Crisis Line and helped process VA benefits claims for veterans. After I raised these cases to the VA and spoke about them, it sounds like, thankfully, at least some of these employees will be rehired, Duckworth said, adding that at least 2 former Veterans Crisis Line employees have told her office that they are in the process of being rehired. While the administration seems to realize that these dedicated individual services are desperately needed, this just further underscores how damaging these mass firings are, Duckworth said. Now, what I'm going to agree with here is I don't like blanket, just, last in, first out approach, because you could have a bunch of superstars in there that are doing great things. I absolutely believe in a performance-based decision. You're lacking performance, what have you, and bad attitudes and all that stuff. And working that avenue, it's a harder hill to climb, and it's even more difficult in a unionized workforce. It becomes a nightmare, and I get it. But I don't think that we could take the easy road to reduce the head count, if you will. All right, moving on. Federal News Network first reported last week that the VA inadvertently fired employees who were no longer in their probationary period or were bargaining unit employees, which is your union employees, and that the VA is in the process of reinstating these employees. Rafael Garcia, a disabled Army veteran, spent more than 7 months working as the only management analyst for the Veterans Benefits Administration Seattle Regional Office, was also fired from his job last week. Garcia said he ensured Army and National Guard service members medically separating for military duty. This is probably from military duty, were processed accurately and timely under the Integrated Disability Evaluation System. He told reporters that reducing VBA staff, VBA, Veterans Benefits Administration, staffing will delay claims processing and erodes the institutional knowledge built over years. When the cost cutting means sacrificing dedicated disabled service members and committed federal employees, it isn't about efficiency. It's about eroding the trust and dignity that our nation owes to those who answer the call to service, Garcia said. This decision is not only a personal blow, it disrupts an entire system designed to process disability claims promptly, leaving thousands of veterans waiting longer for critical benefits as we are already backlogged in tons of inventory. Senator Patty Murray told reporters on Wednesday that her office has received hundreds of calls like this from recently terminated employees who worked at the VA and other federal agencies. A former VBA employee told Federal News Network he worked as an education liaison representative, ensuring schools approved to provide VA education benefits, including for-profit schools, meet their legal obligations under the program, but was fired last week. The former VBA employee, who is a disabled veteran, said his job focused on preventing fraud, waste, and abuse within the VA education benefits. Our role was to work directly with schools to ensure they were following policy, the employee said. The VBA is understaffed. There were other employees terminated, but no one's confirmed who it is. Blumenthal voted to confirm Collins as VA secretary after he told lawmakers during his confirmation hearing that Trump's administration's federal workforce policies wouldn't impact the delivery of VA healthcare and benefits. But the top Democrat on the Senate VA committee told reporters he now regrets voting to confirm Collins. Well, even if you did not vote, he still would have been put in. So, whatever. Here's the thing. Directly, again, it's a right or wrong, here we are. It's less than 0.25% of the entire VA, head count, 1,000 employees. Where did they all come from? Well, I don't have a list of, this was a this person and this was a that person. According to the VA secretary, he said that part of the criteria in which the VA, decided what 1,000 were going of the whatever number of probationary period employees there were, was that they were not mission critical type roles. They weren't roles that would impact veterans' disability compensation or health care, essentially, is what he said. So, I don't know. Here we are. You can't pick one person and then make it seem like 1,000 people did that same job and that's what you cut across the board, right? So I don't really know how to take some of this because the numbers, right? If we were talking about 10,000, like the VA had talked about 11 months ago, 10,000 employees, well, that's a bigger dent, right? Into the VA workforce of nearly 480,000 employees. So it's hard to say, and I think that there needs to be a little more clarity in this. And again, my personal view is I don't think that that's the appropriate way to go about reducing the head count. I think that there could be another way, and it's not necessarily going to be the easier road, unfortunately. But, it is what it is. So let's move on here and see what else they say. There's another quotation here. again, it's all politically charged, and I'm just going to kind of move on. Former VA Undersecretary for Benefits Paul Lawrence, President Donald Trump's pick to serve as the deputy VA secretary, told the Senate VA committee he would take a closer look at the VA's firing and probationary employees if confirmed. If confirmed, I will review, especially with the crisis hotline, how that came about. Now, I'll tell you that for Paul Lawrence, he's been with the VA for quite some time. I have personally received emails and stuff from him back when, I mean, it was blanket emails off to a bunch of us. So it wasn't just to me. But in my time as an accredited veteran service officer and working with the VA, and so he's got a lot of experience within the VA, and I think that he would be a good right hand, if you will. Moving on, it says here that he would look into it, and he would also inform the Senate if or when future layoffs are done. He said on Wednesday. Lawrence said the VA's targeted firing of the 1,000 probationary employees out of 43,000 probationary employees. So 43,000 probationary employees, 1,000 let go, appeared to be a very thoughtful approach to determining who would be laid off, in the sense that it was not mission critical, which is what I had mentioned before, that they looked through at the job positions and so forth, and they determined that out of the 43,000, there was 1,000 that they could, we'll say, trim. Moving on, these were described as non-mission critical folks who would not affect the provision of health care and benefit, he added, which is exactly what we heard from the VA secretary as well. So with that, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.